and realizing you're completely alone. Not alone on Earth, not alone in your solar system, not even alone in your galaxy. Every city has fallen silent. Every civilization has vanished. Every voice that ever laughed, every child who ever looked up at the stars, every person who ever called this universe home is gone. Only one human remains, and somewhere, unimaginably far away, the last star in existence is preparing to die. But this is not where our story begins. To understand how the universe became so empty, we have to travel backward. Not hundreds of years, not millions, but trillions upon trillions of years. Back to an age when the night sky blazed with countless stars, when galaxies were alive, and humanity had only just begun its impossible journey. Everything you are about to see is rooted in what modern cosmology tells us about the future. Some details remain uncertain, but the direction of the story is written into the laws of physics themselves. For billions of years, Earth was an extraordinary accident. A thin atmosphere, liquid oceans, a magnetic shield protecting fragile life from the violence of space. Every tree, every whale, every civilization, every song humanity would ever write began on this tiny blue world. But planets are not eternal, neither are stars. About 5 billion years from now, the sun will begin its final transformation. Deep inside its core, the hydrogen that has fueled our star for billions of years will finally run out. Gravity will briefly gain the upper hand before the core ignites a new source of energy. The sun will expand, slowly at first, then relentlessly. Its surface will swell until it reaches far beyond the orbit of Mercury, then Venus, and the sky above Earth will never look the same again. Long before the sun reaches its largest size, Earth's oceans will already be disappearing. As temperatures rise, water will evaporate into the atmosphere faster than rain can return it. The familiar blue planet will slowly transform into a world of rock, dust, and relentless heat. To anyone watching from orbit, it will look as though the oceans themselves are dissolving into the sky. But by then, humanity will no longer be waiting for the end. It will already be reaching for the stars. Humanity refused to accept that Earth was the end of its story. Long before our home became uninhabitable, we began building new ones. At first, they were fragile outposts, scattered across nearby planets and moons. Then came the first true interstellar ships. They didn't cross space in days or even years. They crossed generations. Entire families were born, lived, and died before reaching a new sunrise. Yet they kept going. Century after century, humanity spread farther into the galaxy. New worlds became new homes. Small colonies became civilizations. Civilizations became networks of thousands, then millions of inhabited systems. Around aging stars, enormous habitats appeared. Artificial worlds, larger than anything nature had ever created. Entire oceans rotated inside colossal rings. Forests stretched beneath transparent skies. Cities glowed around suns that had once shone on nothing at all. For the first time in history, humanity no longer lived on planets. It lived among the stars. Some civilizations may have learned to capture nearly all the energy of their stars. Others may have transformed entire planetary systems into colossal engines of computation, preserving knowledge, art, and perhaps even consciousness itself. To us, they would have looked like gods. But the universe doesn't care how advanced a civilization becomes. It obeys only one law. everything changes, even the stars. Time passed, not in centuries, not in millions of years, but in spans so vast that even galaxies began to grow old. The great stellar nurseries that had once filled the universe with newborn suns slowly fell silent. Cloud by cloud, they exhausted the gas needed to create new stars. And for the first time since the universe was young, the darkness began to win. Every star that died became one that would never be replaced. Imagine standing beneath a night sky and seeing only a handful of stars. Not because clouds hide them, not because of city lights, but because almost all of them are simply gone. Children born in that distant future would never know the sky we inherited. To them, the Milky Way would exist only in ancient recordings, preserved by civilizations that still remembered what the universe once looked like. And yet, life endured. Not because the universe had become kinder, but because intelligence had learned to adapt. Around the longest living stars, the last great civilizations continued to shine. Their cities became quieter. Their populations grew smaller. Their worlds became more precious than ever before. Because everyone understood the same truth. The universe was running out of light. In the end, humanity no longer measured wealth in planets, or energy, or technology. It measured wealth in memories. The last cities became museums of an impossible past. Every street, every work of art, every language, every photograph of Earth was preserved with extraordinary care. Because nothing new like it would ever exist again. Somewhere inside one of the final habitats, children still laughed. They played beneath artificial skies, surrounded by forests carefully grown beneath transparent domes. They had never felt rain falling from real clouds, never smelled an ocean carried by the wind, never seen a living Earth. Their home was beautiful, but it was a memory, built by those who refused to let humanity forget where it came from. Across the fading universe, the lights began to disappear. One civilization, then another. Ancient communication networks that had linked the stars for unimaginable ages finally fell silent. The last interstellar ships returned home because there were no new worlds left to discover. For the first time since humanity reached the stars, exploration had come to an end.